Views from the Couch podcast, where we like to talk sports, play games, and do our best to have a good time. Um, I want to get right into it. We went to the Louisville Bats game the other day, and that was pretty crazy. We got to see the top prospect, Ellie De La Cruz, for the Reds, hit a walk-off home run. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Yeah, it was for sure, I think we were talking about it at the time, as our most fun bats experience we've probably ever had. It was awesome, and, you kind of just, I feel like it was the bottom of the ninth, down by one, and runner gets on, Ellie's up next. You kind of just, you felt that aura a little bit, and it just felt like something awesome was about to happen. Ellie hadn't had a great game. He'd walked the typical pitch around and stole a couple bases, but he hadn't really had a great game. But then that aura came up, and he smoked it. Like, it wasn't a wall scratcher, and if you've seen Ellie De La Cruz's home runs this season, none of them are wall scratchers, and also none of them are like super high end, like moonshots. They're just like 440-foot missiles, like homing missiles. It is insane.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like his home runs are like when he hits the ball. Those are like baseballs you don't want to catch.
Right.
Those are baseballs you want to be like, ooh, I don't want to catch that.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that. Like, we were sitting in left field, and I think you guys, I was like, if a home run comes, like, I'm getting out of the way. I'm not.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not. I'll catch on the bounce. I'll wait for it
sure.
to bounce. Let it cool off a couple miles per hour.
Yeah. So what was actually funny is because you guys were there and you heard me say literally the inning before. I literally said I'm feeling an LA home run.
Yeah.
I literally said that right before, and really good job by I think it's Nick Martini.
Nick Martini.
Yeah, he got on and then gave LA a shot to walk it off, and heck, we were hoping to see Christian Encarnacion Strand one more back because he batted third right after LA, but it's always best to end on a walk-off. That is the first walk-off I've ever seen in minor league or high school or even MLB, Major League, in person.
Yeah, and the thing that makes it even more cool is it's even more dramatic because it wasn't like it's a tie game, a runner got on and he hit the home run. It's like down by one, hit a two-run homer, so it was pretty epic. So that was Tuesday night. Today we're filming this on Thursday. Last night, Wednesday night, Christian Encarnacion Strand hit a grand slam, like right to where we were sitting, it looked like. So we're amped about these prospects, and honestly, it makes me want to go to Bats games so much more now. They're just so fun to watch. They're so fun to watch when these awesome players are out there.
Makes me want to watch baseball just in general. I'm not the biggest baseball fan in the world. A lot of times it's like watching paint dry to me, but I watch these young guys coming up for the Reds like Ellie De La Cruz, and just absolutely electric. I mean, you got minor league games, people are on their feet and cheering, and that's something you don't really expect. I think baseball really needs guys like Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, we were kind of, there were a few times where Ellie was coming up to hit, and we'd even be walking in the concourse, but he's just one of those guys, when he was up, no matter where you are, you stop and you look. I mean, we were like cockeyed from home plate, right behind home plate. It's not even the best view. Even on the concourse, though, we had to stop and we had to watch him just because he has that aura, like I said.
For sure. Yeah, and another thing about talking about just the bats in general, how nice is that field?
Yeah, it's really nice.
And not even the field, the stadium. I mean, there's a lot of history there, because obviously I know they've jumped minor leagues before, and but how nice is that? You can see the river from when you're up in the second deck in the concourse. I mean, it is just a nice ballpark with a lot of history there too.
Yeah, it also some of the more inside things. The way it's built, it allows for the shade to come down, so you're not sitting in the blistering sun. That's kind of inside baseball, but it's nice when you're there. It's something you don't really think about until you get there, though, and you're not, the sun's not directly beating down on you. Now, obviously, if you're in your outfield, it's gonna happen, but just the inside there along the foul lines, it's so nice, and it's really just a good fun place to see a game. Fun place to see a game.
Yeah, and another thing I want to touch on about LA is how electrifying he is as a player. You walk in that stadium, Slugger Field, you walk in there, next thing you know, you see him, he just has a vibe where it's he has it. You know what I mean? You look at him, he's in there smiling with everybody. There was a foul ball over the third baseman in the foul territory, and so shortstop has to run over third, and then right fielder, center fielder is running over as well. Well, it dropped. Next, you see him look over at all the players that are around there, third, left, and center. Next, they're all laughing.
Yeah.
And they're all having a good time, but they're all looking at Ele, and Ele's the one starting the energy. And you just don't really see that in baseball a lot. And I just think when you have a guy like this, it is one of those things that, like, it's going to be hard to miss on this guy. I feel like all comes to all, he's going to be a guy that, yeah, he might strike out a lot in the major leagues, but he's going to be that guy. He's going to be a good fielder. He has a heck of an arm. He's going to be fast. He can always be a pinch runner. Worst comes to worst, he can always probably bat like maybe low 200s. If that's worst comes to worst, I believe, with a switch hitting ability.
Yeah, he's and like this this 435-foot nuke that we saw him hit. Most of his home runs, obviously, just because most of the humans in the world are right-handed. Most of his home runs are from the left side of the plate. So, not only is he this awesome player that's just like unicorn-like abilities, he's also, he's a switch hitter, like you mentioned. So, such a unique talent and such an awesome prospect.
Yeah, how exciting is this, though, to be a Reds? Because, like, right now, Louisville bats are, I believe, 4 games over 500 now, because they were 2 when we went, now they're 3, and then they won yesterday, that's 4. So, I know for the longest time since we've been alive, bats haven't really been a over 500 team. They've always been a losing team, which, really doesn't mean anything. But the thing is, that's just showing that our potential is there. The Cincinnati Reds are, I believe, 3rd in the division right now, only like 3 games back.
Yeah.
They have won 5 in a row. I mean, this Reds organization is booming right now.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? What is it like to be a Reds fan right now?
I'm just having so much fun. I think that, we're still kind of we just began June. So like even in years in the past, I'd still probably be watching baseball right now. But when it comes to get to be like the dog days of summer, like late June, late July, I really start to lose interest. But with the way the Reds are playing right now, like it's appointment television for me. Like tonight, and we'll talk about it a little bit, the game 1 of the finals is on. It'll probably be one TV or my iPad or whatever is going to be the Reds game, and then the TV or the iPad's going to be the NBA finals. So for me, it's just appointment television right now. And they're just so fun to watch. It's just I'm loving baseball again.
For sure.
And for me, it's like the first time I've ever had hope for the Reds. We're a small market team. We don't really spend a whole lot of money. And seeing these guys coming up in the farm, hitting home runs, making plays, climbing up. Every time I look at the top 100 baseball prospects, it seems like we got another 1 or 2 guys up there. And if we can get 2 or 3 of these guys to turn out, we could be looking really, really good in the NL.
Yeah, so I just had something come to my head when you were talking. You think it's the good news since Pete Rose made his first legal bet on the Reds to win the World Series? Is that what it is? Is it the first legal bet since it's legal? You think that's why the Reds are winning this year?
That'd be sweet. And, I'd like to be on his trust.
Yeah.
Win that.
Exactly.
He's gonna win a lot of freaking money if they win the World Series.
Oh my!
A lot of freaking money.
Oh yeah. But and then I want to talk about the young prospects on the Reds since we're talking about all these prospects. I mean, Matt McClain just won Player of the Week last week. Then you got Spencer Steer. I believe he's almost he might be leading the NL for rookie votes, Rookie of the Year. And then you still got the young core in India, Stevenson, and then T.J. Friedel. I mean, these guys, those are your leaders, and they're what? T.J. Friedel's the oldest, and he's like 28, 29.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's young for baseball, 28, 29. So, I just think this Reds team is something else to watch. And I think the whole MLB has to be on lookout. I really do. With all these young prospects, you get a couple of these to pan out, it's hard telling where this team can be when we actually go spend money too, because Ken Griffey's still our 5th highest paid player in our organization, and Joey Votto. And Joey Votto ain't even played yet.
Right. So
it's just unbelievable to me. So you got Joey Votto not playing, you got Will Myers not playing right now, and you got Ken Griffey obviously not on the team like 12 years ago. So those are 3 players that are the highest paid players, and they're not even on the roster, or they're not even playing right now.
Yeah, it's insane. And the other thing about Matt McClain, it's not like he's hot. He's playing he won NL Player of the Week, but it's not like he's hot. He won Player of the Week. It's like he's really good and he won Player of the Week.
Yeah, these
Right.
are just base hits.
Right, like last night I saw one, so even though the shift is outlawed, you can still do it to a degree, right?
Mhm.
So last night they were playing him, both sides, so third baseman normal position, shortstop normal position, second baseman even with the bat. He pokes one the other way down first baseline. Just stuff like that, just being a
Yeah.
hitter. Just being a hitter, and he's like in the, I think the 95th percentile in speed, so he's one of the fastest players in the MLB, and he's 5'8", so that makes you another reason just to love the dude.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is he like doesn't make it complex. You know, the pitcher throws it outside. Okay, I'll just take it the other way. That's what you like. He just gives what the pitcher gives him, and I think as a rookie to show that, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. For a rookie to show that, here, let me just poke the ball the other way, since that's what you're going to give me. I just see that. That is unbelievable. And obviously, then you got, and then I want to talk about the pitchers, lastly. I mean, you got Hunter Green. Lodola's been hurt, but Hunter Green has been dealing here of late. You got a prospect that we watched. Actually, we didn't mention that. He's the #1 pitching prospect in the Reds organization.
Andrew Abbott.
Andrew Abbott, yeah, and he pitched okay.
Yeah, he wasn't too overly impressive. He was all right.
Yeah.
But, he pitched 7 innings.
Yeah, he
6 or 7 innings.
Yeah, 6-7 innings. He had a couple walks, allowed a home run, a solo shot, but I think he only allowed 2 earned runs. So nothing crazy,
Yeah.
which you could take that all day of the week in MLB. So that was exciting to watch. Luke Weaver's been good, been solid. You got Hunter Green, Lodola, like I said, and then you got some of these other guys that are still hurt in the bullpen / starting rotation that can play a huge factor later in the season, like Tony Santillan. I believe Vladimir Gutierrez is out for the year, but you got Santillan. Who else? There's someone else that's injured in our bullpen.
Antone.
TJ Antone's
Yeah.
another big name that's been really good for us in the past. He was actually our best reliever just a couple of years ago. So there's just a lot of potential on this team with a lot of our key players missing.
Yeah, I want to, another thing I just want to extend a thank you to the Minnesota Twins. You may ask, why am I doing that? Last year at the trade deadline, I was just looking it up in March. We gave the Twins Tyler Mahle. In return, they gave us Spencer Steer, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and a high A player. So we gave them Tyler Mahle, who wasn't coming back. They gave us Spencer Steer, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and a high A pick. So, pretty awesome deal there. So thank you, Minnesota Twins.
Yeah, and I believe this might have been a different trade, but was that single A player, Chase Petty?
That was the Sonny Gray trade.
Sonny Gray
But
trade.
Still the Twins.
Still the Twins. So we are the
Dads of the Twins. We're the Padres of the Twins.
Okay,
Yeah, we're the
gotcha.
Padres of the Twins.
Okay, gotcha. So basically, minor league Twins.
Right, honestly. But like all their good players. We have all their good minor league players, and they have all our players that were good, but kind of not good.
Gotcha. So last thing. I promise this is the last thing. Trade deadline. You know, obviously you got before the trade deadline. You got All-Star Weekend. Do you think this Reds team at this pace? 2 games back. Maybe we get to first. Maybe we drop a little bit. Do you think we are active at the trade deadline? Do you think we're active and what do you think, if we are active, what do you think we would be going for?
I don't know.
Obviously, we're a far time away from this,
Right.
but if just a little.
Right, we're just in such a weird position for all the right reasons right now, because Ellie De La Cruz can play shortstop and third base. Spencer Steer can play third base and first base. Jonathan India has only played second base in his career. He played third base in college.
I'm assuming he could probably play short.
Yeah, he can play those. But then we have Edwin Arroyo. He's one of our high prospects coming
He's
up,
like
middle
19,
infielder. Yep,
20.
middle infielder. We have Noel V. Marte, middle infielder.
One of our top prospects. I think he's number 2.
Matt McClain, shortstop, right? And then we have our outfield positions. But I tell you all this to tell you, I just don't know if it makes sense to make a trade just because, we don't even know what our roster is going to look like. I've seen some things about us getting rid of India, which would suck. I don't think it's going to happen. It's definitely just some fodder to ponder. But I just don't understand. I don't even know what a trade would look like. Who would we give up? What player would we get? And how does that affect our future?
Yeah, the only thing I can really think that we could possibly need is maybe a veteran backup or veteran like late starter, like 4 or 5
Yeah.
starter on our team. Maybe like throwing it back to like a Wade Miley, like someone that's been there that does that. Maybe a little bit more consistency from there, who has a good year this year, or maybe even a bullpen piece. I don't think that would hurt at all. But I mean, yeah, infield wise, I don't think you can do anything. I mean, you got 3 catchers on the roster. You got first base, we're good because we don't even have Votto right now. And then middle, infield, and third, we're fine.
We're like stacked like organizationally, like all the way through like single A.
Exactly.
Middle and
So the only thing I could really say is obviously starting pitching, relief pitcher, and then maybe outfield. Outfield might be because right now we got, I believe it's Will Benson. It's been Will Benson and Friedel, and there's one more because Myers is hurt.
Right, Fraley.
Fraley, which Fraley's been amazing.
I mean, they've been
Friedel's been
They've
amazing.
been playing since Ellen left.
Yeah.
Against.
And Senzel's been good this year.
Yeah, so they like to play. They like to play Senzel against lefties, and then Fraley against righties. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, I mean, that's another possibility. It's probably an outfielder or DH. But, I mean, also, this is also saying no injuries. So, you know what I mean? Injuries might play a factor and affect us. So, we'll see about that. Do you got anything on what you think?
Yeah, I would like to see us add some power. I know we're towards the bottom of the league, maybe the very bottom of the league in terms of home runs.
I would say, because Spencer Steer is like our leading home run with 9.
Yeah, that's not the best, but I do agree with you guys. I don't think we need to be adding too many people just because we have so many prospects so close to making it to the bigs, and I think you want to let those guys grow and see what they're made of.
Right. I always get scared. Well, I always get scared when teams are exceeding expectations and things are going good. I always get scared in trying to make things better because I don't want them to ruin the mojo that's going on. It's sort of like how the Heat are. You know, like you don't want to ruin that mojo that's going on. But we'll just have to see. But for now, hopefully the Reds keep on going.
So next up, we got a new segment. We got some burning questions that I think will be kind of fun to answer, kind of see where you guys stand. So yeah, let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
The first question I have for you guys is surrounding the NBA. All of these questions will be surrounding the NBA. But who do you think will have the better career out of Tatum or Luka?
Ooh. Jacob, you can start. If you know.
It's tough. I think that I honestly, I think they're obviously. I think they're 2 great players. But I'm worried about Luka right now. I think Luka's a great player. Obviously, I think he's probably a top 3 player in the NBA, and that's okay. But I doubt that that's all Luka wants his career to be. I think he wants his career to reflect playoff wins. I think he wants his career to reflect championships. I think he wants his career to reflect so many other things rather than just being a stat sheet stuffer, right? No matter how high those stats are. So, if you ask me right now who I think is going to have a better career, I equate a good career to winning basketball games. And if you're also doing well while you win basketball games, that's definitely a bonus. So right now, I think if you ask me who's going to be a better career, I think it's going to be Jason Tatum.
And I'm right there with you. I might be a little bit biased here. Jason Tatum is my favorite player as a Celtics fan. But I just think Jason Tatum, he does a few things that Luka doesn't have in his game quite yet. He's a better two-way player, way better defender than Luka. Sometimes you even see like he's a more consistent shot maker down the stretch, which is debatable. But also, I like the fact that Tatum plays for Boston, which is a historic franchise with historic success. They're a bigger market than Dallas, so I think Boston probably has a better capability to bring players around Tatum, surround him with that better group, which leads to more success as a career. And I think just Luka, they haven't quite figured it out with him. I mean, they haven't really had a winning team yet that's been able to get to the finals yet, so I'm just kind of curious when that's going to happen.
Yeah, so obviously you guys know, but not big on Tatum, but granted, got to give granted where granted is due. The dude's good. I mean, he's a great player. However, I'm jumping on the Luka train. The reason why I say Luka, I think he's younger. He's younger than Tatum. I don't know by how much, but he is younger. Dude gets everyone involved. That is a big thing with me. Yes, he can be that first man mentality, like, hey, I'm going to go down and I'm going to shoot this. Thing is that you need your best player to do that. Tatum has that. So does Luka, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Luka's the type of guy, obviously he averages he might average a triple-double. He's the type of guy, though, he has that LeBron in him, like, I want to make the right play, though. I really do believe this. If it's a last-second shot, Tatum's going to shoot it. Tatum, he has that mentality where he's going to shoot it, which is okay, because he's the best player. Doncic is the best player, but he's also the type of guy, he'll give it to Tim Hardaway. He'll give it to Kyrie now. Christian would. Like, I feel like he would give the ball up in a good scenario rather than I think Tatum would keep the ball. And that's why I think I feel like Doncic is a better passer, better playmaker, and I think the scoring ability is the same. I really do. I think the scoring ability is the same for Tatum and Doncic. Yes, Tatum's more athletic, but Luka is way more fundamental than Tatum. Way more. And that's what makes Doncic so good in the NBA, because of his fundamental ability. Looks like you're about to say something.
Yeah, I think that we keep talking about you just keep talking about things that reflect statistics, and that's great. Statistics
you didn't let
matter.
me finish. I wasn't done.
All right, go ahead and finish.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is, before you cut me off.
You let me cut you off.
Well, because you're about to say something.
I wasn't gonna. I was just chewing on my lip.
No, you got the microphone closer.
Right,
you got the microphone.
No.
But so Mark Cuban has tried multiple times to try to get people in Dallas. Got Kyrie this year. Before they got Kyrie, they were number 2 in the West. Number 2. So why in the world did Mark Cuban mess with that? That is my question. So who knows what this team could have been? Because you take away, arguably, Dorian Finney-Smith, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the NBA. One of. You got Spencer Dinwiddie, very solid bench piece. He was their 6th man. And then there was also some others in that trade. Do you remember off the top of your head? I don't remember off the top of my head. But it was a big package for Kyrie. And he went out and got Christian Wood. Year before that, very good on the Rockets. Very good. Like, one of the most underrated centers in the NBA.
Yeah.
So, he is trying stuff. He is trying. I'm already hearing that he is looking at DeAndre Ayton this offseason. I think, he is trying to get this team to where Luka can be successful. And I think, personally, as an NBA person, I believe, if I'm a player, it's I want to go play with Luka Doncic. That dude distributes the ball. Would I want to go to Boston? Yeah, maybe. But the thing is, though, can I get paid in Boston? You can't really get paid right now in Boston. Dallas, Kyrie's gone. Luka's the only one that's getting paid. You can get paid in Dallas.
But they have to be willing to pay you. That's the other part. Getting paid is a two-person.
And I think if he's looking for DeAndre Ayton, I think that's a max contract. So I think he's looking to pay people.
But if you're gonna pay Luka and you're gonna get DeAndre Ayton, that's money. That's all your money.
Yeah, that's just like anybody in the NBA.
But I mean, DeAndre Ayton, to me, he's not a transit.
I totally agree. I'm just saying, though, he's looking to build his roster. He's looking to get better. He's better than Christian Wood.
Right.
He's better than, obviously, I don't think Kyrie, I'm a huge Kyrie fan. I like Kyrie, the person Kyrie. I think he is a good basketball player. Very good basketball player. But the thing is, as a team, he's not a good team player. And that's why he crushed that team. That's why he's crushed every organization he's been to.
Right.
I'm a huge Kyrie basketball player fan. Not a huge Kyrie selfish
Yeah,
player
yeah.
person. But that's why I think he's looking to make this team better, though. I really do think Luka will be better than Jason Tatum at the end of his career.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, Tatum, it's just so crazy to think that, I mean, Tatum, he's already been there. He hasn't done that. He hasn't won it yet. He's already been there. I mean, how many seasons into his career? 4? 5?
I think it's 6.
4, 5. So 6, I mean, 6 seasons into his career. He's already been there multiple times. I mean, I guess a lot of this, a lot of winning also depends on, you know, not only obviously the player, right, but it depends on relying on your ownership to put pieces around you. But also, I mean, if that's the case, then Luka needs to leave. Because, I mean, if you're not getting the right pieces around you. One thing I thought of is, like, you can pay a lot of money to get good players, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good players for your team. They may be a good player, but that doesn't mean, like, DeAndre Ayton, that'd be terrible for them. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I'm not a DeAndre Ayton fan. I'm just more referring
he's willing to shell it out.
He's more, I mean, that dude, he has a max contract. So he's willing to go get somebody. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying DeAndre Ayton's the answer.
Yeah, I got you.
He is not the answer,
sure.
I can tell you.
For sure. But then the thing is, though, let's say he is the answer for them and that's what they choose. I can tell you right now that's going to be a failure.
So I want you to listen to this. This is a little crazy. I know it might not happen. So Jaylen Brown goes to the Mavericks. Is the Mavericks better than the Celtics? To me, yes. Jaylen Brown has that, you know, distribute. He has that ability. That yes, he has that scoring ability, but he knows he's already played with a guy like, you know, that scoring ability. Who's the number one guy? I think Jaylen Brown would make the Mavericks better than the Celtics.
I think, obviously, if the Mavericks make an addition and the Celtics have a subtraction, yes, that gets one team better than another. But what do the Celtics do then? That's the question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
So who knows what they do?
Yeah.
And also Jaylen Brown showed the willingness to in Game 7 go 10 for 24 and have 7 turnovers and play like shit, right? Like that's happened too before.
True.
But yeah, I certainly agree. Jaylen Brown is a better player for the Mavericks and makes them a lot more of a contender than Kyrie and certainly than DeAndre Ayton.
Well, I think just naturally, if Jaylen Brown was to go to the Mavericks, they're just Luka and Jaylen Brown are more complementary because Tatum and Brown kind of play the same position.
I agree.
And I think that's something that could, later on down the line, that could go in Tatum's favor as for who's a better player between Luka and Tatum. I'm kind of curious to see if there's ever a time where Jason Tatum can really take the load like we've seen from Luka. Luka's had to really carry his team, and we've kind of already seen all he has. I'm not sure if there's much more room for improvement for him as for like scoring and assist averages. He has so much usage. I think if Brown, say he goes out the door, I'm curious to see where Tatum takes his game if he has to ever carry the team. I think he could be better.
Yeah, I also think the Boston Celtics would never put Tatum in that position where he has to do that, just because they're a historic franchise. They're an East Coast team, so they probably would never be in that position where Jason Tatum has to have Luka Doncic volume. But I definitely would be interested to see where it goes. But yeah, Carson, anything else?
Yes. So another thing, just what kills me about Jason Tatum is how much he shoots. The three. He shoots step back threes that kill me. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. When being 6'8", that athletic, I mean, get to the rim. That is, and then his mid range is solid too. But he shoots. I mean, in that finals or this conference series, I mean, he was shooting like 8 threes, 9 threes, and I just feel like for his caliber, he is not like, yes, he has games where he is on fire, but he is not Steph Curry. He's just not Steph Curry. He's just not. And I just don't think, I feel like he needs to develop. Luka shoots like 3 threes a game. Yes, there's games where he shoots 8, but he usually only shoots like 3 threes a game. He more gets to the rim. He uses his body, uses his fundamental ability, mid-range game, and it just kills me how much he shoots. And it's funny because, you guys know me, I'm a huge three-point shooter, but like, I just can't stand watching three-pointers that are contested when you are that big and that capable of being a good player. I believe if he attacks the rim, I said this during the start of the Heat series, when he gets to the rim and is able to drive and get downhill, I really do think he is a top 3 player in the NBA. But once he does his little step back threes, dribble this, dribble that, fade away 3, no, he is not. He's a top 10 player.
Yeah, here's the problem though. We've seen this volume out of Doncic, but it hasn't resulted in the ultimate thing, which is W's, right? So maybe he needs to sacrifice some shots, and he should certainly sacrifice some crying to the refs. And Tatum's no angel either, but Luka Doncic is easily the most he complains the most out of any player in the NBA. So maybe he needs to sacrifice those things for more W's. I don't know. Obviously, they're both tremendous players, and I'll die on that story. But I think if you ask me right here today, especially after the Celtics getting out of the Eastern Conference Finals, I think it's going to be Jason Tatum.
Gotcha. Yeah. One more thing. This is just one more thing. So, I believe the Dallas Mavericks 2 years ago went to the Western Conference Finals. They beat the favorite Phoenix Suns. I believe they swept them. If not, it was Game 5.
Yeah.
And that was a very good, hot Phoenix Suns team. That was Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, is it Mikal Bridges?
Yeah, Mikal Bridges.
Devin Booker, and then they had someone else at the power forward, maybe Torrey Craig.
Right.
But that was they were the number 1 in the West, and they went in there and they even it was Luka. Luka literally was the one, obviously, just like most games, he has the ball in his hands and just making the right play. Yeah. And he did that in 5 games. And that was a very good Suns team. That Suns team, I think they were better than even after KD because of how much deeper they were. Because they had Mikal Bridges. I really do think, though, like, you can't sleep on that, though, because Luka Doncic, that's Mavericks team wasn't that good. They weren't as good as they are after, well, not the Kyrie team, but the one before the beginning of the year. And so, I mean, he's been there too.
Right.
Obviously, he hasn't been to the finals yet, but he's been there too. He's been to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I think the bottom line is, if there's anything I think we can all agree on, they both need to quit being crybabies to the officials.
Everyone in the NBA.
Yeah, everyone in the NBA. But these 2 guys certainly in particular, they could do a little less complaining. Both going to be great players. Both have already had great careers. Going to have great careers. But we all have our opinions.
All right, we better get to the next question.
Yeah, right.
Before we get talking.
We could talk about that all day.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. This is something that's been kind of heavily debated. Who do you think is the best defensive player in the NBA?
I'll start this
go
one.
Ahead.
So I hope you jump on board and just say and agree with me. There's no question. There's no question it is Giannis Antetokounmpo. No question. I don't care what you guys say. The dude's 6'10".
Perfect. Hey. Next. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. No, but 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, whatever one you call him.
Yeah.
Dude obviously he's probably the most athletic player in the NBA right now, most strongest. I don't even know how this is a debate. Like, I don't even know how this is a debated question. That's all I'm going to say. Like, I think he literally answers it for everyone. I really do.
The only thing I would say about that, I know they try to save his energy a lot, because the Bucks is Giannis, but I don't really see him a lot of times guarding the best player.
That's a lot of the best players, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess to call him the best defensive player in the NBA, I would like to see him take on more of those matchups.
Right. And there's also, but the other thing is, there's also probably a guy out there that we don't even know is the best defensive player in the NBA. Like, we would have never thought of, but like all his teammates and everybody in the league think so. So.
Yeah. I'll say what I said. I want to hear your guy first before I say what I was going to say.
Who'd you say?
Mine's a little different. I'll go last.
Oh, okay. I have Jaren Jackson Jr. I think Triple J is the best defensive player in the NBA. You look at a guy, you see a guy that's he's 6'11", 7 foot. He's extremely lengthy, can guard the perimeter, similarly to Giannis. But he can also guard the rim. He's a fundamental shot blocker. He's unlimited legs and arms. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best defensive player in the NBA.
The only thing I would say about Jaren Jackson is that if you look at a lot of other players of his position, he doesn't really play as many minutes as them, and there's a lot of times where they can't keep him on the floor.
Yeah.
Whether it's he's hurting them or if it's foul trouble. He fouls so much.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Fouls.
He
He is a
lacks
big foul.
discipline.
Very. But the thing is, though, I think we can all agree this. To be a good defender, you got to be physical.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. If you're gonna be in the paint, you're gonna get fouled.
I would say
If you're gonna,
if you're the best, I guarantee if you're the best defender in the NBA, you're most likely going to be getting in foul trouble if you're guarding their best player.
right, because
for sure.
part of defense, I think probably 65% of the players in the NBA could be the best defender in the NBA. You know, a lot of defense is just trying. You know, so and a lot of times if you try, you pick up a foul. So that kind of be my argument.
I have a little bit of a different pick for defense, who I think the best defensive player in the NBA is, and I think it's Jaden McDaniels. And what really got me to jump on that bandwagon was hearing guys around the league talk about him. Jamal Murray said he can't get this guy to stop blocking his jump shots. And Paul George said kind of a similar thing. But you watch this guy play. I've watched him a couple times, and he's listed as like 6'9", but it's almost like Kevin Durant. When you look at him, you think this guy's like 7 foot tall. He's so lengthy. He can guard 1 through 4. He was the only guy in the NBA this year to have 70-plus blocks and 70-plus steals. He's an elite defender, but can also protect the rim. And he says himself he believes he's the best defensive player of the year, and I back him.
Interesting pick. So, the reason why, like, what I was going to say earlier, because I didn't know if any of you guys were going to pick Kawhi.
Yeah.
Arguably, Kawhi was obviously one of the best defenders in the NBA when he first came up through the NBA. Like, 'cause, you know, the famous video of LeBron, who looks back at the scores table, crap, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then next thing you know, it's Kawhi Leonard coming in the game.
Right.
But what I was going to say about that is, even nowadays, so I thought one of you were going to pick Kawhi. I thought one of you was. Even Kawhi doesn't guard the best player. So I know you guys said that about Giannis. Even Kawhi doesn't guard the best player anymore. Typically, your best player doesn't guard the best player on the other team in the NBA. Just because usually you're the best player because you're the #1 scorer. That's usually how it works. But I think, so you do, I guess you do have a fair point. He's not guarding the best player. But I think if you look at his traits and look at his past, he's won Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And so is your guy. So I haven't seen it on your guy yet. Obviously, he had a good stats this year. But so we've seen Giannis play at a high level, and I think being 6'10", 6'11", that strong, I just don't know how this is a debate.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing, but to me, the other thing about Jaren Jackson Jr. is since he's literally a rim protector, that's his job. So any given play, he is guarding your best player because he's beating him at the rim. You know, so maybe the center isn't the best player, but any given play, he could be guarding your best player, meeting him at the rim. That's why I said that.
Ready for the next question?
Let's do it. I'm for it.
Next question. Who do you think is the most underrated player in the NBA, meaning someone who does not get the attention or recognition they deserve?
Nice. Gene, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, my guy is Alex Caruso, and I think he's honestly a guy that you could have put into that best defensive player in the NBA conversation. A guy for the Chicago Bulls, I think a lot of times when I watch them, he can be their most important guy. When he's playing well, that's when they win. But #2 in defensive box plus minus, top 10 in defensive rating, #1 in steal percentage. I think he got a lot of talk when he was on the Lakers, just because he was on the Lakers, you know, he's kind of a memeable guy. But I haven't really heard as much about him since he's joined the Bulls. And he's just been fantastic defensively, and he's a pretty solid shooter as well. I think he's the most underrated player in the NBA.
So let's comment on each other's after. So
Yeah.
go ahead and say yours.
About his?
No. Let's
oh.
comment after about each
so
other.
for me, I think the most underrated player in the NBA, a player that helps any team, is on is Seth Curry. He doesn't get the recognition because his last name is Curry. Obviously, his brother is the greatest shooter of all time. But I think that Seth Curry is first off a player that any team in the NBA would love to have on a player any team would love to have on their team. But he can shoot. He can defend. Actually, he's a good defender. But when I can't even explain it, but like he has like the best basketball IQ. I think like one of the best basketball IQs in the league. I think he's always like even though he's a shooter, he always makes the extra pass. He's a really good defender. Like he's really good at like old man defense. You know, just like guarding without really guarding, but still guarding. So I think for me is Seth Curry. Seth Curry.
Gotcha. So I'm glad you guys went first because I put down a couple guys because I didn't know what caliber players you guys were talking about.
Right.
Like I didn't know if you're talking like all-star level.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys went first because you guys are in the same kind of position,
For
same
sure.
caliber. So since you guys took that caliber, I want to say Anthony Simons.
Yeah.
Anthony.
I like that.
Yeah, Anthony Simons. Obviously, Dame Time's been hurt a lot, and when he's hurt, I mean, it's the Simons show. I mean, that dude can. He's literally a great value brand Dame Lillard. I think that dude. He has a high vertical, young prospect, and now he's on the starting lineup, I believe. That dude can score. He can score. Let me tell you. And I think the thing he needs to work on. Obviously, I think all these guys that we've said since we're done talking about those, your guy obviously needs to work on his offense a little bit.
Right.
Your guy needs to work on his defense a little bit, and then my guy also needs to work on defense. So what I was going to say is, the number one thing he needs to work on his game is what he has an advantage to all you guys is he is younger. So one thing that he can work on is his defense, and I think for him to be that weak defender right now, being young, a lot of teams attack him. So he has a good possibility to fix that problem.
Right. Anthony Simons is actually supposed to be a Louisville Cardinal. He committed to Louisville and went straight to the G League. So,
Good player.
the one that got away from Rick Pitino.
You know, he kind of reminds me of another Louisville Cardinal,
Russ Smith.
Donovan Mitchell.
He does. He plays a lot like Donovan Mitchell.
Shorter too. He's a little bit shorter.
Yeah, he plays a lot like Donovan Mitchell.
High vert.
That's a good call for sure.
Yeah, I had him in fantasy basketball last year, I believe. And some games I thought I did have Damian Lillard on my team. He fills it up some games.
He does.
And I think if they were to trade Damian Lillard, he's a guy that we could see maybe become an all-star level player.
Honestly.
That's
for
from the offensive side, yeah. For sure.
Especially if he improves at defense, and even if that means just getting a little stronger. And he's a good player. He's a really good player.
For sure. I think we're good for the next question.
Yeah.
Next question. Who is your least favorite player in the NBA, and why do you not like them?
Least favorite player.
You want to?
You can go first.
Okay. So, this one I have two, just because I've already talked about one of them. So one is Jason Tatum. Now, obviously, I already talked about. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The reason why I don't like Tatum is his ability, because he is a top 10 player in the NBA. He whines a lot, that we touched on earlier, and also he shoots too much for me. So I think, and that just the reason why it irritates me is because he is capable of being a top 3 player in the NBA if he plays the way I think. So who am I? That's the thing. Who am I? But I personally think if he played the way it matches in my mind, I think he's a top 3 player in the NBA if he plays the way I think. But that is just me, obviously. That is why it's my prediction. So I'm going to go with my other player. I think this is pretty easy. Dylan Brooks. Not a big fan of Dylan Brooks. So what's funny about this guy is Dylan Brooks. So the reason why I don't like him is obviously his attitude, like his just how he carries himself. What's funny is I respect his game. Like he earned a lot of respect, but then he used that respect and turned it into a look at me. Like look at me. He used it, and I think that it hurt his career. I mean, nobody wants to play with him right now.
Right.
I don't think no one wants to play with him. And I know he's trying to take like that Draymond or something role, and obviously I think every team needs that type of guy, that tough, physical, smack talk. But the way he does it, the way he carries himself, I was actually I was a fan of his at Oregon. I was a fan of him. He was fun to watch. He was a better scorer than he was in the NBA at Oregon. He was a good scorer, and he actually him and Peyton Pritchard took that team far in the tournament. And but I just wish Dylan Brooks would get a better attitude. I just think he's actually not a bad player, but it's just his attitude. It's terrible. It's just bad. That's why I cannot stand him.
Right.
And Tatum.
Kind of pivoting off that, kind of in the same vein, you mentioned him. My least favorite player in the NBA is Draymond Green. I respect his game. I respect what he's done for the Warriors over the years, but I can't respect some of his actions. He's had some really dirty plays over the past couple of years. In recent memory, stepping on the chest of Domantas Sabonis, kicking Steven Adams a couple years ago. And he talks such a big game for a guy that most of the time doesn't do a whole lot. Yeah, he defends, but not a good offensive player. He really hurts the Warriors sometimes. because of his lack of offense. And I don't think he's as good as he thinks he is, and that's what I don't like about him.
Yeah, well, and another reason that I don't like Draymond Green is after he punched Jordan Poole in the face. I remember like before opening night, they like did like a feature of him, and they like made him look like the victim. Like in the feature, it's like dark music, and he was like, who knows, whatever. But there's nothing worse. It sucks when people do things like that are like ignorant or dumb or annoying. It sucks when they do things that are ignorant, dumb, and annoying, and then they act like they didn't do something that was ignorant, dumb, and annoying. That drives me crazy. So I definitely agree with you. Yeah, Draymond Green is definitely up there for me, for sure. So my least favorite player in the league is, this is probably one that a lot of people do, is Trae Young. I think that Trae Young, I think he's entitled. I think he's overrated, and I think that he has a couple good games a year, a few good games a year. He gets hot. But just for example, the whole private jet saga. I mean, he single-handedly got his coach fired, Nate McMillan. In my opinion, I think he single-handedly got his coach fired. I think he's an okay shooter, but people think he's a great shooter just because he shoots from very far. And he doesn't make it as much as people actually think he does. And I think he's cost the Hawks a lot of games, and I think that that's a reason they're not very good. So my least favorite player is Trae Young.
And you talked about Jason Tatum taking a lot of shots. Trae Young, my goodness.
And the thing about Jason Tatum, at least he's 6'8". I mean,
Yeah.
Trae Young's like 6'1".
This guy's chucking it from half court a lot of times. Not pretty.
Yeah, but hey, when it goes in, it's an awesome highlight on House of Highlights, right? It's awesome on Bleacher Report when it goes in. So that's why I say Trae for sure.
I think Knicks fans would agree with you.
Right, yeah, well, he
Sure.
does own Madison Square Garden. He was awesome at Madison Square
He does own that. So I just want to touch on a little bit of stuff. So Draymond Green, I respect the heck out of Draymond Green. I think he is. So when I refer to that guy, like I said, Dylan Brooks, like you need that type of guy on your team, like a Draymond Green. That's why I respect him so much. Obviously, I can get why people don't like him, but as a basketball coach, you need that type of player on your team. Obviously, you don't need the extras that you were talking about. You don't need the extras, but you need that junkyard dog, first on the floor. You need that type of player, and I do believe he does, like you said, talks a big game, but he does a lot of the little stuff that makes his game, and that's why I think he still has a contract, and that's why he still is a starter on that team. And then yours was Trae Young, and I obviously agree. Trae Young is probably the most overrated player in the NBA.
Well, it's
one of, at least.
It's so interesting because they paired him with probably one of the most underrated players in the league, Dejounte Murray. Like a really, really, really good player, Dejounte Murray. So it's just like such an interesting dichotomy there.
He was actually on my. So when I told you guys I had different calibers of most underrated, he was one of the all stars.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think he's one of the most underrated because of what he did on the Spurs. But I won't talk about that. So I'm good for the next question.
Awesome.
And you good for this?
Yeah, one more question, and I'm curious to see where you guys stand on this. If there was a team to be the next Dynasty, like the Golden State Warriors in recent memory, who do you think that team would be?
So I have two. Again.
Go ahead.
How many? Do you guys just have one?
I don't have any yet, so
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
be thinking.
I have two that I can say, but I don't know.
So, being a Pacers fan, I'm not going to say the Pacers.
Oh, okay.
But that was one of them. That was one of them.
Well, then you only say one then.
I am going to say one. So, my other team was the Pacers, but I'm going to talk about this one just so I'm not biased. The Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City Thunder, I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that was my favorite player on that Kentucky roster. The dude just keeps getting better and better and better and better, and obviously I keep going. But with how many draft picks do they have? I don't know off the top of my head. They have a lot.
1,000?
Yeah, they have a lot. So Josh Giddey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the whole team, that's their core right now, and they're like 24 years old, and Giddey's younger than that.
Right.
I don't think, how can you not put them in this conversation? I just think they literally have so many draft picks, so much capital. The only dude paid is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so I just think it's a no-brainer. You got to put them in there, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander he made all NBA first team this year, so
Yeah.
we could maybe see him play a factor in the future for MVP race. So, and then I think that goes a long way to draw in free agents like, hey, I want to go play with that man. So that is mine.
What about Chet Holmgren too? I mean,
yeah,
you got
of
him
course.
coming
He
back.
didn't
That
play
too.
last season.
And J-Dub, Jalen Williams,
Yeah.
he was up there for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and defense. I think he was one of the
Yeah.
top defenders.
Yeah, not many teams have a brighter future than the Oklahoma City Thunder. But with that being said, my team, I think if there's a team that can be a dynasty like the Warriors, I'm going to go with the hot team right now. I'm going to go with the Denver Nuggets. When I look back and I think about the Golden State Warriors dynasty and what made them so different from the rest of the NBA, it was having those two shooters like Curry and like Klay Thompson that really revolutionized the game, really changed the game. And I think that's what the Nuggets have going for them. They have something that nobody else in the NBA has, and that's a Jokic. A center that can make plays like he does, dominate the post, and just dominate the game overall. Nobody else has that in the NBA. And they have so much talent around them. They're already in the NBA Finals, most likely going to win the NBA Finals this year, in my opinion. I think they have all the potential to win multiple championships over the next 5 years.
Yeah. So if you would ask me this question probably 2 years ago, I would have said the Houston Rockets, right? So that shows you how hard this is to predict a dynasty. But right now, if you ask me who has the best potential to become a dynasty, I'm going to say the San Antonio Spurs. And then for one reason, Victor Wembanyama, right? Nothing else needs to be said. I mean, usually if you're bad, two things happen. Number one, you have good draft picks. Number two, you have a lot of money. So if you have good draft picks and that draft pick can turn into Wembanyama, then you have enough money to get good players. I think that the Spurs have just as good a shot of anybody to become a dynasty within the next 5 years.
We'll talk about something that nobody else has. I guarantee you nobody else has a 7'5" big man that can dribble and shoot, defend the rim.
Undoubtedly.
Thunder are close.
Honestly,
they're
Chet,
yeah, they're close, but they're not. He's not 7'5".
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Chet. You know, it's so scary how he already has an injury. He's not like Wembanyama just as far as just the way he's filled out.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, as I say, it's a lot of we'll see, we'll know, who knows. Obviously,
Bingo.
besides yours, because they're already in there.
Yeah.
But I think R2, yeah, you just can't really say
also,
too much.
Even about the Nuggets, who knows? You know, just because they're in it this year, you get it in 1 year, 2 years in a row. That doesn't even make you a dynasty yet.
Yeah,
so.
and in the past they've been out pretty early in the playoffs.
Right.
I say you got to win it first to be a dynasty.
Yeah.
I think
sure.
you got. I mean, if you're gonna say you have a dynasty means you win at least 2. I think a
Right.
dynasty is like, okay, you win 2 in 5 years. I think that's fair to say.
Right.
2 in 5 years, that's a dynasty. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Or you show up to like the Warriors did. Obviously, the Warriors won 2, but like. I think like the Cavaliers only won 1, but they showed up to like 4 in a row. I think that's a dynasty too. I really do. I think
The other thing
you
is
showing up.
he's like a walking dynasty.
Exactly.
You know, like
Yeah.
anywhere he is,
It's
they
a
have
dynasty.
shot, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. As the clock struck midnight, NBA draft opt-ins and opt-outs officially became official. All announcements had to become official. So any college player that was testing the draft waters, they had to let their team and the public know by midnight if they were going to stay in the draft or if they were going to leave. Or if they were going to, stay in the draft or if they were going to come back to their college, or if they were going to come back to college but transfer, which is the case with some players. Just right off the bat, I mean, we're how many hours after? 12, not even 12, 15 hours. We're 15 hours after that. What are some gut reactions 15 hours after? Jaden, you go first.
My Kentucky basketball Wildcats are definitely big losers. I think we only have like 7 players on the roster right now. Oscar Tshiebwe decided to stay in the draft. I believe Chris Livingston did as well. Antonio Reeves is coming back, but maybe not to Kentucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot up in the air right now for Kentucky. and pretty much we only have young guys, and that's not what you want in this day and age. Everybody else pretty much has grad transfers or veteran players on their team. Like Zach Edey just came back for Purdue. Kentucky doesn't have any of that. And for me, the first thing I'm thinking is like they might just be another Memphis Tigers from a couple years ago when they had Wiseman and just all those young guys. Where it's, yeah, they have a lot of five-star recruits, but how well does that translate to winning basketball in the SEC and in NCAA Division I basketball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you touched on it, but mine is obviously the big news. I mean, it came across probably everybody's phone. Zach Edey, the player of the year. He is the big talk right now. Obviously, Sheboy's big too, being a Kentucky fan, but the big talk is Zach Edey coming back, senior year. Obviously, probably going to be the favorite for player of the year again, just because he is unstoppable at that. Because he is not. It's just crazy to say he's not going to be an NBA player. He's not going. I mean, it's if he does, it's going to be his odds are stacked against him. Most guys at that tall, at that weight, is not going to pan out because of the 3-second rule. You can't sit in the paint on defense in the NBA, and that changes everything. And that's why the NBA height is going away. That's why Bam Adebayo is your classic NBA center. However, college basketball, Zach Edey, I think he's going to win Player of the Year again. That right-hand hook shot is unstoppable. He will shoot a high percentage from the field. He'll grab a rebounds. He'll average a double-double easily. You'll see Purdue still be successful, probably be your number one team right off the get-go.
Right.
And I think...
But I also, with that being said, I just don't think they're going to get it done. I don't think their style of play through Zach Edey is conducive to winning national championships.
Exactly. And it's the Matt Painter way. Matt Painter always gets these 7-foot-plus guys.
Yeah.
It's never worked out for him. He's never been to a Final Four. Matt Painter is the most overrated coach in college basketball. I respect him, but he is just not he has never been anywhere with a lot of good teams, and I think that's what makes him overrated. Yes, he can win games. He has won games, but he cannot win the show. He cannot win the big games, and I think that hurts his legacy as a coach.
Yeah, well, I disagree sort of with his recruiting style too, just because, obviously Zach Edey is tremendous, and usually these big centers that they have are always tremendous, but then the rest of his roster is just filled with like mid-tier talent, like low-level Big Ten talent is what it's filled with, which is great talent, but it's low-level Big Ten talent. And like he recruits the state of Indiana so hard, which is great. Like, usually the state of Indiana, they're going to have, like, 1 or 2 great players, and the rest are, like, 3 stars, 2 stars.
And those 1 or 2 great players usually go to IU Bloomington or a different, bigger school.
Yeah, like Kentucky, like somewhere within the Midwest,
region,
the Midwest. But, it's just, like, I just don't think it's conducive to winning a lot of basketball games the way he recruits. I really disagree with it.
Yeah, so just talking about the teams around us. So I said Indiana. I mean, what do you think of their offseason right now? I mean, Indiana with Khalil Ware, getting Khalil Ware, and they also just got
Mackenzie and Baco.
Yeah, Mackenzie and Baca, and I mean they are looking good. I think they are probably the second favorites in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably them. Illinois, they're still decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think IU is.
I mean, they're probably the number 2 behind Purdue.
I agree.
And what do you think? I
think from what I heard a couple weeks ago, just even a couple months ago maybe, a lot of IU fans were starting to lose hope when they heard that Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson-Davis are going into the draft. I'm like, well, the glory days are over. But then right after that, you get these big pickups in Ngako and Khalil Ware from the transfer portal. That's huge. I mean, you're looking to compete at the exact same level, if not better, right away.
Yeah, and I think they got some recruits as well, and they also got 6-year player back. Is it Johnson? Xavier?
Oh, Xavier Johnson.
I think he's coming back for his 6th.
I
think he's coming back for his 6th year. And
anytime you have a ball handler coming back for the 6th year, no matter how good they are.
For sure, being 30 years old, you're going to be better than an 18-year-old.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
So yeah, IU fans, yeah, like Jaden said, they were probably worried a couple weeks ago, and they're Kentucky fans, right? I'm a Louisville fan. Kentucky's definitely been a lot more perennial than Louisville. But Louisville still has been good. So what I'm saying is welcome to good college basketball, right? This is what happens. When you lose your good players, you get more good players, right? So even if you lose your great players like Trace Jackson and Shafino, you're good, right? You're going to get more good players because that's what good college basketball teams do.
Yeah, so tell us about, talking about Louisville, tell us a little bit about Louisville this offseason.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're coming off a historic bad year.
Right, terrible.
But I can tell you right now, Kenny Payne was sitting on that sideline smiling still. And
Yeah, it's
obviously,
smiling.
I'm a huge Kenny Payne fan.
Right.
Huge Kenny Payne fan. He did a lot of good things for Kentucky as an assistant coach, as the top assistant actually, with recruiting and developing big men. But he did not translate very well in his first season at Louisville. But tell me what you think, how he's done so far this offseason.
At the beginning of the offseason, there was panic, as there usually are with Louisville fans. In the middle of the offseason, there was panic, as there usually are with Louisville fans. At the end of the offseason, there's still panic, as usual with Louisville fans. But then we got a recruit, and everybody's so happy, right? So that's just the way it goes. That's kind of the cycle with Louisville fans. I think that they were a 4-win team last year. Their talent level was terrible. It wasn't 4-win team terrible. It was terrible last year. So a lot of those players are starting to be weeded out. But this is really the first offseason, or the first time, like in the college basketball offseason, where Louisville fans haven't had to panic because we had all of our roster spots full. So that midnight last night, we weren't worrying too much just because we knew what our roster was going to be. We're kind of seeing the Kentucky route with Louisville right now. They didn't get many transfers. A lot of freshmen came in. They have believe it or not, with how bad they were, they have the 4th-ranked freshman class coming in. So we're fine, right? Kenny Payne's fine. We'll see about on the court, but off the court he's fine. But last night at midnight was like the first time as Louisville fans in a few years we haven't had to panic about our roster.
So who was your key, did you guys lose anybody big? Did you guys gain anybody big? How many recruits do you have coming in? You can say their names if you want. If you don't, just say how many.
Yeah. So we lost Jalen Withers to UNC. He went to North Carolina.
Nice.
Basically Caleb Love, so I mean the same guy basically. So that was a good.
L. Ellis, I believe.
L. Ellis, yep, went to Arkansas. Went and watered down their roster even more. I say watered down, but when you water down something with a lot of good, is it even watered down? So he went to Arkansas.
15 guards, right?
Right, literally,
15
honestly,
guards on the roster.
Honestly. And then there's one more player that's losing my mind, but those are the 3 players that went to high major schools. The rest kind of low major.
So you lost 4.
Right. And then we brought in a 5-star small forward, basically small forward guard named Trenton Flowers. We brought in a 5-star center named Dennis Evans, 7'1" paint protector. And we brought in two players that are top 100 that were from the Chris Mack regime, but they stayed committed. And then we brought in a transfer from Miami named Danilo Jovanovic.
Oh, nice.
He redshirted last year, so honestly.
Let me guess. 6'10", 200 pounds.
6'5", 337 pounds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, you're
a defensive tackle.
Yeah, right. yeah. No, but you're kind of right. Big
Tall.
white guy,
Tall, skinny.
Yep, kind of stretch 4, stretch 3. So that's kind of where Louisville's sitting. But really, Kenny Payne honestly went the University of Kentucky route, bring in young guys.
For sure.
That's what we did,
and
I
so
think that's how he's building his foundation.
To talk about Louisville, last thing, at least as a Louisville fan, it can only go up from here, from last year. So now I want to talk to you. We touched on it. You touched on it a little bit. So last team we'll probably talk about in college basketball, Kentucky. So Kentucky, obviously, they had a big night, like you said, and it didn't help us, but it was a big night for Kentucky because a lot of movement was happening. Obviously, lose Shebway, you possibly lose Reeves, lose Wallace, lose Livingston, and lose Lance Ware. Almost lost Kingsley, which he ended up coming back.
Yeah.
Lost, not Fox, Collins. Damian Collins. I believe, did we lose anybody else?
Probably.
Yeah, I said
We
we have
Frederick to Cincinnati.
Yep, Frederick went to Cincinnati. So we are in. Are we in code red? We have 7 players on our roster, and I believe 4 of them are walk-ons. I'm kidding. No, I think we do have about 3 walk-ons.
One more thing I gotta say: 7 players on the roster. Here's the big issue: you play a game in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You play
And
game. That's the issues. You play
Yeah.
a game. One of those or national games, but it's in 6 weeks, so that's kind of the big concern.
Yeah, and Cal put out a big, I don't know if you saw the tweet today, he put out a big tweet just saying, like, he respects people going to the NBA. Like, that's what you come to Kentucky for. You want to get to the next level, you want to get better, and you want to go to the next level. And that's what he was saying in that, but he's basically also saying, like, it stinks because, look at us now, like, we gotta go, like, now we gotta go out and get some, we gotta go out and get table scraps. Kinda. Yes, there's some transfers out there. I believe that dude from North Dakota,
Grant Nelson.
He was supposed to be an NBA prospect, I heard. There's still some out there. I believe Holland just said he's going to the G League.
Right. And Grant Nelson, I think in his short list he had 4. Kentucky wasn't on there. I got a guy for you guys to watch, and I haven't heard anything about this. Arthur Kaluma from Creighton. He's the small forward. He's really, really, really good. And he's like your Kentucky type of player. That could be an interesting.
Well, and then another thing is, like we were talking about big guys earlier, where I saw he might possibly go to Purdue. But something I would be interested in for Kentucky, something different, is what is his name? The Connor from Oral Roberts and Arkansas.
Yeah.
He's a transfer right now. Vanover. Little stretch 5. He's 7'5". I know he's in the transfer portal. I wonder though, actually, like coming off the bench, I wonder if Cal will give him a shot. I know it's never been in Cal's arsenal to get that type of guy, but he was trying with who was he just recently trying with? There was someone really tall.
Harms? Was it Harms?
Yeah, he was recently trying with Harms, and I believe there was one more even too. Hunter Dickinson. He's 7'2". So he's been trying to get these transfers that are tall. So I'm curious to see if he does reach out. We also reached out to the Sharp dude. From WKU. I don't know if he committed anywhere yet, but
I think he did. He went to Memphis, I believe.
Memphis, and so like he's put the name out there for these long, tall guys. So I'm curious to see if we put in for him just as a table scrap piece. But I think Kentucky is in a code red. What do you think? Yes, we have the top rookies and the top class, but what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it code red, but there's definitely concern there. You can't call it code red when we literally have the #1 freshman class coming in, tons of 5 stars. But yeah, we don't have very many people on the roster, and I see a lot of fans being pretty upset with what we've done. We struck out on Oscar and Hunter Dickinson, which was quite disappointing, and we lost a lot of guys to the NBA in addition to that. But you got to kind of remember that's what Kentucky is. Most guys aren't coming to Kentucky to look to stay there beyond their first year. Kentucky is an NBA factory. It always has been since Cal's been there, and we're seeing that again. Guys go to Kentucky to go to the NBA, and that's what we saw this year. So it's not really a surprise to me, and I think we're definitely going to go out and get a couple of guys in the coming weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Like you were saying, it's got to be soon though. Because like you said, we play in a summer tournament, and
6 weeks.
Yeah, and it's like, you got to have a foundation. Like these players are going to be showing up, and then they're not even going to know the offense. They're not going to know the defensive principles.
Yeah.
So, it is definitely very.
I've also seen some rumors. I don't know if they're true, but some rumors about Aaron Bradshaw may have a foot issue. I don't know if you guys seen anything about that. He's concerned about an injured foot. Who knows? I'm sure he's fine. But I think the one thing that we should remember as college basketball fans, especially fans of our team, no matter what happens, the way the college basketball is right now, words are just words, right? I remember talking to you guys a little bit like a few months ago about how Lance Ware said he'd never leave Kentucky. L. Ellis was like a booable till he dies. Whatever. Words are just words right now. Till bags start to show up, till other things start to show up. Words are just words as far as the Wild Wild West college basketball goes right now.
For sure. Yeah, and so like, who do you guys think? Obviously, this is really early. Do you think Purdue is your leadoff one? With the Player of the Year candidate, you almost have to think that they're at least top 5, obviously.
They're top 1.
I say they have to be number 1. They have to be number 1. But we all know that, like we were just talking about earlier, that they're not going to be that team to win it in the tournament.
Right.
They're just Painter can't get it done.
Right.
And is there any other teams that you think like outside of this Midwest region that you think like had a good or have a? I think you were a little fan of him last year, but Creighton getting the 7-foot dude back. What's his name? Yes, I mean, getting him back, that's huge for them. I know they lost that Baylor, I believe, from the Dakotas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the Dakotas. And but they were a young team. I believe they lost Nimhard too. Nimhard went to
Ryan Tizona.
Was it Gonzaga? I thought. Did he go with it where his brother went?
I thought he went to Zona. Maybe it was Gonzaga.
I knew it's somewhere out there. Obviously, Zona's made a lot of moves, getting Caleb Love we talked about, and then did they lose the power forward?
So they still have Larson. Who was the other one though that was really good?
It starts with a P. It's a long last.
Whatever. Yeah, they still have Larson. They lost the better one. They lost, but they still have Larson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then they still have Balu. They still, I mean, a lot of foreigners like usual, but I mean, they're we'll see how they are with Caleb Love. You guys have my thoughts on that, but I mean, yeah. But I think the real winner of this offseason, like usual, it disgusts me to say, is Kansas. Holy cow! They're insane, dude. Again, they're insane. They're insane. Kansas is crazy this year.
Yeah, that's the team I was going to say. Coming off kind of a disappointing season, you got to think they're looking for revenge, and what a way to do it by getting 7'2" Hunter Dickinson, who's practically unstoppable down low, and he can shoot.
I was just say I talked about him a lot when Kentucky was in the race for him. I thought we were going to get him. I always said I wanted Hunter Dickinson over Oscar Cheaper as a Kentucky fan, but obviously it didn't suck. We didn't get either. But Hunter Dickinson, I really do believe in college basketball. So listen, this is college basketball, people. This is not. I think he is literally he's a lot like Jokic. Now, I'm not saying he is the best player in college basketball. I'm not saying, but he has flashes of Jokic. You know, he can shoot the three. He's a good passer from the post. He's a back to the basket type of guy. Get the ball in the post. He can read a double team really well. He makes a team very, very good. And this Kansas team was already really good with a lot of experience. They have that dude coming back from Texas Tech. He transferred there last year. What was his name? From Texas Tech, do you remember?
Who had him coming back? Sorry.
Kansas, Texas Tech. He went to Texas Tech and he transferred there. He was there last year. He was there forward. Do you remember his name?
He was on Texas Tech last year?
No, he was on Texas Tech with Chris Beard.
Kevin McCullers.
Yes.
Kevin McCullers Jr.
He came back.
He came back from the draft.
Yes, so getting him back with all that experience, and I'm sure they have rookies coming in too.
So they have this guy,
freshmen.
They have this forward from Towson named Nicholas Timberlake coming in, this white guy. I was watching his highlights. It's insane.
Really?
Like a freak. So, I mean,
Kansas. And then, talk about, we'll end with the last two Blue Bloods. So what is Duke and UNC looking like? I know UNC had a down year. Duke kind of had a down year at the beginning of the year. They kind of turned it around at the end of the year. I believe I'm a huge fan of what is the Duke coach? Shireman. I'm a huge fan of what he's doing though. I thought at the end of the year he started to get that team to play the right way, which I believe most of them came back. Did Lively come back? Do you guys know?
The whole Duke roster came back, except of course the seniors. But the whole Duke roster came back.
I'll say this right now. That is a scary team.
Yeah.
I think what they showed at the end of the year last year, defensively, very scary. With
Roach is back. Jeremy Roach is back.
Flipakowski or Flipperowski or whatever, dude's good. I think he's going to be I think he's going to be one of the top picks in the draft the following year. I think he will be very, very good. Be a lottery pick. I think they are very underrated. Duke will, and UNC. I think. I think they definitely got worse.
Yeah.
But maybe it'd be for the better for them. You know, maybe getting all this drama out. Do they still have R.J. Davis, or is he a senior?
He's coming back.
He's coming back.
What about? They lost Baycott.
Baycott's gone. Big loss.
Yeah.
Nance is gone, I believe.
He was a senior,
yeah.
But in typical UNC fashion, they brought in a bunch of high recruits.
And then,
UNC usually
do they still have Cam Johnson's brother?
No, he transferred. Johnson transferred. I forget where, but he transferred. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, I think
he went to Pittsburgh, I think.
Gotcha. I still see UNC not being what they're supposed to be next year. But they could raise eyebrows. I think they could just because of the young prospects they always get. What do you guys think about Duke and UNC?
Oh my gosh, Duke. I mean, they're the only team in college basketball that they didn't bring anybody in, but they didn't lose anybody except the seniors. So like I think that Duke could be. I can't believe that they convinced Filipowski and Lively to both stay. Duke has a chance. Like Duke's gonna be a good team.
And they did bring in some 5-stars too.
Yeah,
Like, Jared McCain, can't
Right.
sleep on him. And I think there was 2 other 5-stars as well. So they're going to be loaded with talent.
Yeah, like I said, I'm big on Duke next year. As a Kentucky fan, it's sad to say, but I'm big on Duke.
Right.
And,
As an any college fan,
Yeah,
it's sad.
hate
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's- And then, what do you guys think about UNC?
I honestly don't care. You know, I'm not a big fan of their coach.
I'm not either.
I don't. In my opinion, I don't think he's that great of a coach. So I really don't care. They brought in Jalen Withers, so I'm questioning that. But you know, maybe they're just looking at the upside rather than the downside.
I'd say that year he went to the championship. They weren't that high of a seed, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, he walked into Roy Williams' team. I'm a huge Roy Williams fan. I love Roy Williams. Probably arguably my favorite coach of all time. That dude could coach. But he walked into that team. They already had the dynasty built around Roy Williams, so do we give credit for him? I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. But what he did last year really hurts his resume because that was his first year of getting actual recruits because he was a late add-on. But we will see.
Yeah, it just kind of stinks for him to walk into that. He probably I can imagine him and his staff are just thinking this is not our fault, like that all that happened. But I'm not a big fan. But UNC's a blue blood. They're always going to be there no matter what because they're North Carolina. So.
For sure.
We're gonna finally wrap up episode 6 here of the Coaches from the Couch podcast. This is a new segment we kind of want to end all of our podcasts off on. And this one's called Final Words. So basically, I'm gonna shoot it around the room, and any final thing that Jaden or Carson or I just want to get off our chest, sports related or not, now's the time to do that. So Jaden, final words.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it where we started this podcast and say, Cincinnati Reds, please call up Ellie De La Cruz. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump to tonight. I hope the Heat win, but I think the Nuggets get it done. Like I said.
And for me, it's Thursday. We're just going to go out and enjoy this beautiful summer day. So with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Again, we promised you that we're going to talk sports, we're going to have fun, and we also played a game today. So with that being said, for Carson, Jade, and I, thank you so much for listening.